Welcome on into Second Round Syndrome, your talk for the Philadelphia 76ers and the NBA. I'm your host, DJ Sports Zone. With me is my co-host, Hav Harris. How's it going, dude?
Today is officially the last day that you can say Happy New Year's. What's going on, brother?
Is that true? Is
That's
it
my rule. You get 5 days, one hand's worth, 5 days, not a week, but you get 5 days just in case you haven't seen somebody, a neighbor, a coworker, whatever, 5 days.
all right, cool. I didn't know what the rule was. I was actually at the Sixers game yesterday against the Denver Nuggets, that horrible overtime loss that they had. And they were doing like a little New Year's celebration because that's the first time they've been at home since the New Year hit. And I was like, is that something you could still do at this point?
They're still on the perimeter. They got their 5 days and they were on the fourth day. So if it was tomorrow, unacceptable.
Yeah, it was in the Hav Harris rules.
There you go.
So I wanted to come into the show happy and satisfied.
Wouldn't that
because
be nice?
It would have been nice. Okay. The Philadelphia 76ers had a terrific road trip, at least the end of the road trip since our last show, because we grilled them last time for how they performed against the Brooklyn Nets, against the Chicago Bulls, definitely against the Oklahoma City Thunder. And then I think there was a little bit of a turnaround, especially in that Memphis Grizzlies game. Because we need to stop talking about the Sixers as a big three. They're not a big three. They are a big four, right? Obviously, Tyrese Maxey is a superstar in the making. Joel Embiid, I think he's starting to come back into form, right? Now, is he playing at the MVP level? No, probably not. But is he playing at an all-star level form? I think so. At least the last several games.
Definitely good enough.
Right. And we'll talk a little bit about the All-Star game a little bit more later in the show. But if Joel Embiid gets in, would I be surprised at this point? No. Okay. Then you got Paul George, who we've spoken very highly, at least the last couple of shows about Paul George. I think he's been fitting into his role very nicely as that guy who could play elite defense, get his shots when need be. I think he's been very solid. But we haven't really been talking about one player in that now big four, actually.
I was going to say, because I only count three there. Who's Mr. Four?
VJ Edgecombe. And I think that Memphis game, that game-winning shot proves to me that VJ Edgecombe is a future star. The Sixers hit so well on that draft pick, because I know there were so many people that wanted Ace Bailey, or we've even talked about it a couple episodes ago about should they have maybe even taken Canepo.
Mm-hmm.
I think without a doubt in my mind, they chose correctly. And we can't have this argument anymore for at least the rest of the season and probably forever on, right? And we don't know what will happen in the future, but he's just playing so well. And then he has an incredible game in that win in Dallas. And then that game against the New York Knicks was just insane by both Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, Joel Embiid. I mean, Tyrese Maxey, 36 points. Joel Embiid had 26 points. And you know what? VJ Edgecombe, he also got 26 points. It just was so incredible to watch those three players in the Garden embarrassing the New York Knicks, because now the Sixers have beat the Knicks twice, both on their home turf. I mean, that's the crazy part. And Knicks fans, once again, they use some excuses of for whatever reason, they keep scheduling the Sixers Knicks games on a back-to-back for the New York Knicks. So we were on the back end of a back-to-back again, but they used that as an excuse.
The league must have it out for them.
Yeah, no, so that was the one excuse. And I even saw but Josh Hart didn't play. I mean, really, you lost that game.
That's right? Like saying Kelly Oubre didn't play.
So that's why I was so high on the Sixers. And then I got to experience the game in person yesterday. And you look at it, okay, they lost against the Nuggets, right? That must have been a very competitive game. Okay, but let me tell you, they had 7 players, 7 key rotation players out. There was no Nikola Jokić. There was no Jamal Murray. No Aaron Gordon, Cam Johnson, Christian Brown. And if that wasn't bad enough, they also didn't have Jonas Valanciunas or Tim Hardaway Jr.
So who did play?
This is what they let the Nuggets do. Jalen Pickett, who is that? I have no idea. He had 29 points, shooting 11 of 20 from the field, and 7 of 11 from 3. That's one. Number 2, Peyton Watson, 24 points. They let Bruce Brown, who hasn't done anything in like 2-3 years at this point, 19 points.
Yeah, at least I've heard of Watson and Brown, but the other guys, man.
Oh, that's not it. Zeke Naji also had 21 points.
Come again?
Zeke Naji.
Okay.
Who's been on the Nuggets for a couple of years, but has barely played.
Okay, so does he have a ring?
When was his first year playing? I mean, I think his rookie year was 2020, so he should have one.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, they got beat. I mean, Bruce Brown's a champion too. He won with the Nuggets.
Yeah.
But
Najee had 21 points.
21 points. I mean, and you look at all that, you're like, all right, maybe. I mean, you could score a lot of points, right?
Mm-hmm.
But how's the efficiency? I'm not kidding you. The Nuggets as a team, 53% from the field.
Were they all layups?
And let me actually just be more specific. 53.1% from the field.
Wow.
And 48.6% from 3.
That was my next question. Wow.
Every shot they took went in. There was just nothing that they could miss. Like that basket was as wide as the ocean. And on top of that, you have the Sixers who, I mean, they shot 47% from the field, 38% from 3, which those numbers aren't terrible. I mean, Joel Embiid had 32 points, right? He also had 10 rebounds. Actually, and I was surprised, 6 offensive rebounds. And then on top of that, you have Tyrese Maxey, 28 points. He didn't hit 30, which, sad boo-hoo, but it's fine.
Ho-hum.
But they really didn't get much help from anybody else in that game offensively. VJ Edgecombe, Quentin Grimes, they had their moments towards the end of the game, but they had nothing. And then you got zip from everybody else. Paul George, 8 points. He shot 3 of 10 from the field, 2 of 7 from 3. He was also a minus 18 for the night. You also had Jared McCain, who just, I feel so bad for the kid. And a lot of it is due to the injuries that he had last season and even in the offseason. I mean, he only had 3 points. He shot 1 of 4 from the field, 1 of 3 from the 3-point line. And there were some shots that he even took that I just think he was just trying to make anything. But there was even an attempt that he gave up. Like, he was in the middle of the shot and he like threw it down and turned the ball over because he was afraid to put it up. This is kind of where we're at with Jared McCain. And defensively, he had some decent moments, but just watching him, it feels like he couldn't guard a kindergartner.
Yeah, regarding Jared McCain, I actually had 2 questions for you. I wanted to get your opinion on him specifically. First, and the first one will lead into the second one, I promise. First, do you think that this is more of a physical ailment or do you think it's more mental with McCain right now?
I think it's both. I mean, I think it's more mental than physical.
I agree.
Part of it is when he played last year, right? And he was just so incredible in the 23 games he played. Like, now this season, he's played 25 games.
I was going to say we're getting close to almost mirroring the games, but for as good as he looked last year, he's looking almost as poor this year, but of course with the injury factor.
And if you want to compare the numbers really quickly, I mean, minutes wise, over 25 minutes last season to 19 this season. When we're talking about last season, 15 points per game, 46% from the field, about 38% from 3. This season, as I said, 19 minutes per game, 6.9 points per game, 35% from the field, which is a huge drop off, and about 32% from 3. I mean, that's not good. And again, now you're playing with Embiid, you're playing with Paul George, you're playing more games with Tyrese Maxey because he was playing in the beginning of the season with McCain. But on top of that, now it's a heavy guard rotation. Like, if anything, Jared McCain is number 4 on the list. right? Because obviously you got Maxey, then after that's VJ, and then it's Quentin Grimes.
In terms of minutes, for sure.
Right. So, I mean, Jared McCain, that's why his minutes are dropping. But even still, I mean, he played 18 minutes yesterday. So he got a good run. I mean, against the Knicks, he played 17 minutes. So Nick Nurse is giving him a shot out there, but he's getting nothing going. And it's tough to see. And my only thing is, like, I don't think you could trade Jared McCain at this point, by the way. I think his trade value, even if you wanted to, is way too low. Unless you could like sell teams on what he did last season. But I think hopefully this is a next season thing, because I don't know if Quentin Grimes is going to be on the roster next season. I don't think he's going to get paid nearly the amount of money he wants, especially what he was looking for this past offseason, the 25 to 30 mil per year, which was insane. But let's just say Quentin Grimes finds another team that pays him, not nearly that amount, but more than the Sixers would offer him. Jared McCain would definitely get a little bit of a boost. And maybe part of it also in terms of the mental part of this is he's seeing what VJ Edgecombe is doing. And he knows he's not producing at that level. And that's affecting him. So I don't know what's going to happen this season. I don't know if Jared McCain's going to get any better, because like the last several games, I mean, he had a nice stretch a week or two ago, but 3 points against the Nuggets, 6 against the Knicks, 2 against the Mavs, 2 against the Grizzlies. I mean, that's not good. That's not very productive. And again, defensively, he has his moments, but I mean, it's tough being a great defender and being such a small guard. I mean, how tall is he? 6'3"? I mean, it's hard being such a great defender, and especially early on. I mean, VJ Edgecombe, like, here's another thing about VJ. I mean, he's just so dominant on both ends of the floor, like immediately. And it's so amazing to see how just fantastic he is, both offensively and defensively. Like Tyrese Maxey, when he first entered the league, he was a pretty bad defender. And this season, I mean, he's got to be one of the better guards in the NBA in terms of just his defense. Forget his offense, which obviously that puts him in the MVP conversation right now, especially, with the games played rule. I think Nikola Jokić is probably going to unfortunately get knocked out of that by the time he returns. So it could be players like Shea, Luka, and we'll see, because Luka's had injury problems in the past, so who knows? And then, who after that? Jalen Brown, maybe? I don't know. Wemby, if he gets, games played, but even Wemby's been out a lot. I mean, I think he's actually coming back tonight off the bench, or just saw a notification that he is coming back. But Maxey can get himself into the MVP conversation with just what he's doing offensively. But he took a couple years to get to that level. So McCain, again, it's only his second year in the league. He only played 23 games last season. I think he's going to play, hopefully, almost every game for the remainder of the season. Like, I don't think Nick Nurse is going to bench him. I mean, I think that would be a horrible mistake. I mean, maybe there'll be a game or two here and there, depending on the matchup, that he gets a DNP, especially if, you don't know who they're going to get in the trade deadline. Once Kelly Oubre and Trendon Watford return, that's just 2 more players that are going to get minutes in your rotation. I don't know. Like, what are your thoughts? Like, what are you seeing from Jared McCain?
No, so that's what it was. My second part of the question was going to be, and I think you kind of answered a lot of it, was if you were Nick Nurse, would you still try to get him his playing time in that low 20s that he's kind of been floating at, or would you reduce him maybe down to that 14, 15 minutes a game and let him clear his head that way? Do you think this is a play through kind of thing, or maybe a sit on the bench and collect your thoughts and reset kind of thing?
For now, I would keep it rolling. I mean, I get that sample size a little bit higher. And if I would say probably past the trade deadline point and he's still playing it the way he's been, then maybe I would reduce his minutes a little bit. I mean, when Jared McCain first came back from his injury, he couldn't make a shot and they had to send him to the G League, and then when he came back, then he started making his shots a little bit.
Yeah, so maybe for him, it's more of a reset instead of a tough love kind of situation. And when you bring up minutes, something that is remarkable with VJ Edgecombe is the fact that he's seeing over 40 minutes a night. Like, there's some games in this road trip where he was playing more minutes than Maxey. And for a rookie, that's just unheard of. So I think that's just more of a testament to the fact that he has played so well on both sides of the ball, not just offensively with a shot. The fact that you can make an impact defensively, you're going to find the court.
Yeah, I mean, if you're comparing McCain to VJ, I mean, VJ is averaging over 35 minutes per game, 16.5 points per game, 43% from the field, almost 39% from three. I mean, that's just impressive rookie numbers, and it's plus minus. Like it's just like through the roof compared to some of these other rookies. My father and I, we both went to the game together yesterday, and like we were comparing the numbers with plus minus between VJ, Cooper Flag. I mean, Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper. Dylan Harper had a nice plus minus, but he's coming off the bench, so it's a little bit different. He's being productive with his minutes off the bench. Cooper Flag, he was in the minus. I mean, obviously Ace Bailey was terrible. Kadipple was a little bit low, but it's just because he's on Charlotte, but he's still putting up high numbers. That's why we got to put some respect on VJ's name. I mean, this dude does not play like a rookie at all. He's he's playing like an all-star this year. He's not going to be an all-star, obviously. But like, I think he's telling the league, like, look out over the next couple of years because I'm coming. Like, I'm coming for the league. And
knowing what you know now.
Yeah.
Would you, going back, let's say the Sixers won the lottery, knowing what you know now, would you take VJ over Cooper Flag right now?
It wouldn't happen. I mean, if the Sixers got number one, it would be Cooper Flag. And
but if you were like I said, just if let's say you were able to go in a time machine and you were to go back and you said, you know what, all right, I just saw their first 2 months of their rookie campaign, whether how much you want to forecast that into the rest of their career, would you still go ahead and take Cooper Flag, or do you think that VJ was the better pick?
It's tough.
Because I feel like those are the top two for rookie of the year. I know Khan's made a big impact in Charlotte, but just in terms of star power and name, I think those two are the big two right now for rookie of the year.
So here's my argument. Let's just assume, right, Embiid, Paul George, they end up coming back just like the way they did this season, right? Everything turns out the way it did. We just, swap out players.
Just an even swap. Yep.
I think honestly, and again, I love VJ, right? And I think we got the right player. But if you get number one, I think you have to take Cooper Flag. And part of the reason why Cooper Flag's struggling, first of all, at the beginning of the season, and we covered this when we've made fun of the Dallas Mavericks a lot, is Jason
out
Kidd,
of position.
Yeah, they were playing him as a point guard. You don't have Kyrie Irving. They were trying to make something work. It didn't. Now I think he's playing a lot better. But again, you have a team that's just consistently injured. I mean, Anthony Davis has been in and out of the lineup. They're most likely going to trade him at the trade deadline. Kyrie Irving, he's probably going to be out the whole season. I don't know why they would bring him back at any point this season, rest him up and either trade him in the offseason or pair him up with Flag and see what happens. But if you put Cooper Flag in a lineup with Joel Embiid and Paul George, I mean, and Tyrese Maxey, I don't know. Like that could be great. Plus, the Sixers, to be fair, any team wants a wing player like Cooper Flag.
Of course. Like
Cooper Flag could be a once in a lifetime, generational player. I mean, we obviously got Victor Wembanyama. Now we got Cooper Flag. I think it's going to take a couple of years, and depending on the moves that the Mavs make, I think Coop is going to be a very good player. Like VJ might win Rookie of the Year over Cooper Flag. I think they're both going to be stars. I think VJ could even be a superstar one day. I mean, again, this is years down the line. I mean,
of course,
I could definitely see him being an all-star in the next couple of years. But if I had the number one pick, I just don't know if it's controversial. Like I think you have to go with Cooper Flag.
No, I like that, and I agree. I just wanted to see if your respect or your love for Flag waned at all. But I think just more so we're giving so much love for VJ because now we can put him in the same sentence as Flag, where before it was like he's the prize of the class and everybody else is beneath him, and now it's like no, Flag and VJ were the prizes of the class so far. And I like that.
You ready for this, Hob? I'm going to flip it on you. Let's just, you said number one.
I did this.
You did this. I just came up with this in the top of my head. If the Sixers got number two now this is the interesting question. Do you go with VJ Edgecombe or do you go with Dylan Harper?
Man. Do I know what I know now? Is it the same situation I gave you a Flag?
Same situation. Everything's still the same with the Sixers. You just swap players.
I was a big Harper fan, not just because he was a Rutgers kid and not because I saw him play, but it's tough. That's where I may draw the line. I think VJ's done enough to say, you know what, I probably should have been two. And the Spurs may not regret not taking VJ just because of how they're set up with their guard rotation, and maybe they just thought that Harper was the better fit, but I don't think I'm taking Harper over VJ. I think VJ's locked into 2 if he's not 1.
I agree. I would take VJ. And the problem is with San Antonio, and that was like the risk taking Dylan Harper is you already have so many guards on that roster. Again, you traded for De'Aaron Fox, you got Stephon Castle, Devin Vassell. I mean, you already got a lot of guards on that roster. So putting VJ Edgecombe on the bench for San Antonio, I think part of the reason why VJ has thrived the way he has is because he got that starting role with a playoff caliber roster.
Yeah, it's very rare for a rookie to step into that situation.
And playing with Tyrese Maxey, who, was a young guy years ago, right? I mean, he learned how to develop. And just like James Harden shared his knowledge with Tyrese Maxey, I think Maxey's doing that with VJ. And obviously, you have great veterans around you. I mean, you got Joel, you got Paul George, you got Kyle Lowry. And again, I know we like to make fun of Kyle Lowry, but he's probably one of the most respectable guards in the history of the NBA. I mean, obviously we still technically Chris Paul's in the league too, but if not Chris Paul, it's Kyle Lowry.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Eric Gordon's also a veteran. Like he's got just so many guys to give him knowledge and make him the player that he is. So when Paul George is off the books, when Joel Embiid is off the roster in the next several years, because again, I think Joel is going to at least go through the rest of his contract because I don't think you're getting rid of it. BJ will have all the skills and all the knowledge, and who knows who else they get on that roster in the next couple of years. I mean, VJ, that's just a scary player to go up against in the next several years. I wanted to talk a little bit about since that Denver game, okay? Because and that was the disappointing part of going into the show of I don't want to make excuses, but I think this was just like a traditional trap game. And I was hoping they didn't go into it with that mindset. I mean, I think part of it, and I'm not making an excuse for it. Like, I don't think it's a season defining moment. Like, I think their mentality was wrong. And VJ even talked about it after the game. But I think after those incredible wins, especially coming out of the Garden and putting on that performance, embarrassing Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns. I mean, Joel Embiid was just crushing Mitchell Robinson. I mean, the amount of fouls that he baited on Robinson, like he was laughing at some of the fouls that he got. Like he just couldn't believe the pump fakes he made that Robinson went for. Going from that to coming back home and facing a heavily depleted Denver Nuggets team, which was basically the equivalent of a G League squad, they turned those players into stars just in that game. They played down to the competition. It is inexcusable. It should have never happened, right? And I'm so mad about it, going to the game and watching that. Like I remember when they were calling the starting lineup for Denver, like those Nuggets players, they looked like they didn't even want to be there. Like their faces looked so sad and depressed. And then you see the Sixers, they look happy. They're dancing with one another. I mean, it looked like they were going to whoop them. But
and then the game started.
And then the game started and they were making every shot and the Sixers just didn't have an answer. And I think Nick Nurse made some bad choices with the rotation. Like when guys aren't making shots, you got to make changes, right? Like I don't think Justin Edwards has been good this season at all. Like I compare him to what Ricky Council did last season, but give him a shot, put him in there, see what happens, right? I mean, hey, you have Eric Gordon still on your roster, put him in for 3 to 5 minutes, see what that does.
It's got to be better than giving Quentin Grimes 40 minutes a night.
Right. And that's the problem. And then one of my other issues, one of the lineups that just wasn't working was every time they put in Adem Bona, I know they tried to do this like Twin Towers lineup with Embiid and Bona, and sometimes it works, but it's so hard to watch Adem Bona play defense because he just can't do it without fouling. Like some of the fouls he made, I forget who he closed out on, but in the fourth quarter, I mean, he fouled somebody while they were shooting a 3. Luckily, they didn't make it, but like that was the last couple of minutes of the fourth quarter. Like that was a defining moment. And you had to get him out right away. Like, why didn't Nick Nurse play Andre Drummond at all?
Your question was my question that I was going to ask you, so I'm glad you're bringing it up because I was going to say I feel like Bona's been playing a lot more than Drummond. Like Drummond was a DMP coach's decision last night. I was going to ask you if you agree or disagree with that decision, but I'm glad to see that you disagree with it as well.
Yeah, because Nick Nurse the last several games has been going either Bona or Drummond as the backup.
Yep, one or the other.
And I feel like at the beginning of the season, especially when Joel started playing, like they were going with both. Like he was getting both of them.
And it was working. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because Bona wasn't getting in foul trouble. You were able to use him for what he's good at. And then you were able to mix in Drummond when the other team used size to be able to compete on the boards.
And that's what I'm saying. Like you don't have to mess with Embiid's minutes at all. Like it just, shortens a little bit of Adem Bona's minutes and obviously Drummond's too. But I think Drummond could be useful out there because again, he's having a pretty solid season. Is he great defensively? No, right? But having a guy that can rebound and hey, I mean, he's been putting up those corner threes. I mean, that's helpful. That could have made the difference for the Sixers. I mean, because they just made so many stupid, idiotic mistakes last night, especially late. I mean, they got steal after steal after steal. And on the fast break, what do? They turn it over immediately. And they did that multiple times. And then you had that goaltend at the end, which that was terrible. That I think that was from Embiid that he let that happen. And then in overtime, like nobody could score. And they just looked tired. They looked exhausted. And again, this is not an excuse. They should have won that game. There is no reason behind it. And it's a bad look coming out of that road trip. But again, I don't think it's a season-defining moment, right? Now, obviously, tomorrow night's game, they're facing the Washington Wizards at home. It's a 7:00 game. Right now, I know the injury report has Embiid, Kelly Oubre, and Trendon Watford listed as questionable. I don't know if that means Embiid's going to play because the last several games, they've been putting him as probable. This time, they're putting him as questionable. I don't know if that's because they want to give him the night off or maybe they'll just see when they get closer to the game what happens. But I think they'll win that game even if Embiid doesn't play, just because like my thing is hopefully this loss it's just kind of like one of the pushes that they need of, okay, we came out of that road trip feeling high. We got kicked to the curb by a G League team. We will never let that happen again. We got to keep our heads in the game no matter what, so that way we can win as many games as possible. And you're going to have games like that. Like I kind of excused the Brooklyn Nets game a little bit. Like it just was a bad shooting night, right? But you're at home, right? That it just was. I think this was a worse look, especially with who they were playing. It just wasn't like I have no excuse for them on this. Like I was mad just like everybody else about this, but I'm not saying like the season's over. I'm not saying they're going to be a play-in team or a 500 team. I still think they're one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference, assuming they stay healthy and they're playing at the level they're playing right now. If Embiid, Maxey, VJ, Paul George, and hey, even Quentin Grimes has had some good games. He played very well against his former team, the Dallas Mavericks. I mean, if they play at this level, I think they can get up there in the standings. Now, are they going to beat Detroit? Probably not. Are they going to beat Boston? Probably not, which again, I'm always shocked about Boston, the way they're playing, the moves they made. Jalen Brown is just like, he might insert himself into the MVP conversation just because of what he's doing. And then it's pretty much everybody else. Like the Knicks, we'll see. I mean, the Knicks have lost the last 4 games, which is interesting. Now, it could just be a slump, right? I mean, that last game that they played yesterday against the Detroit Pistons, I mean, they lost by like 30 points. And Karl-Anthony Towns, he had a horrible game. I think he had like 6 points. I think he shot like 1 of 4 from the field. And then you had a horrible game from OG Anunoby, and they got pretty much nothing from their bench. So who knows? I mean, it's tough being the Knicks and having to only rely on Jalen Brunson, right? I mean, Karl-Anthony Towns will have great games, right? He could be a double-double threat on any night he chooses to. But Cat is a type of player where he's going to have games like this, and you need your other players to step up. Like you have, again, OG and Bridges, who are on massive contracts, and they don't really play like third options. I mean, when one guy is struggling, they're not really stepping up and putting up a 25-point game. It's just not happening.
Mm-mm.
Like, and I hate saying this because I think they're a way better version than this player, but it's kind of like when the Sixers had Tobias Harris. Now, again, OG, Bridges, they're way better, especially on the defensive end.
I was going to say better defensively, yes.
But in terms of offense, it's kind of like the same player.
Mm-hmm. I know, I see it.
Yeah.
Chipping in a couple threes here and there, a good mid-range game. They don't get to the line that much, but they don't score as much as you would like from a guy making 30, 35, $40 million a year. Absolutely.
And that's why I think, they're going to regret at one point. Like, and maybe it's even this season or next season, depending on if Giannis moves anywhere, if there's any other big player that goes. Like, they traded 5 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges.
People forget that. I know it's they're lauded for having such a great rotation, and people love their team, but it was at what cost?
And they let the other New York team, Brooklyn, con them out of it. I mean, it's very rare when you see the Knicks and the Nets do deals together. I mean, so to do that and give them 5 first-round picks, it's just insane to me. And, they traded a good amount of pieces for OG as well. I mean, you traded RJ Barrett, Emmanuel quickly. Forget how many picks they traded for OG as well. But, I mean, and then you obviously traded a bunch of pieces for Cat. I mean, Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo. They traded a lot to get the roster that they have now. Like, there's not many other moves they can make, but you have to have other players step up. Like, it can't just be Jalen Brunson every single night. And I mean, let's just say he goes down. Who's stepping up?
That's the big question mark for the Knicks.
Right. I mean, and that's at least the good thing that we've realized about the Sixers is when Embiid's out, Maxey will step up pretty much every night. I mean, that dude doesn't have a weakness. You can't get in front of him. You can't stop him. He shoots from anywhere. And then VJ, again, like, he has his off nights, but again, he's a rookie. But as I said, like, he doesn't play like a rookie when he has these incredible nights, which seems like it's very often. It's just the Knicks don't have that. So who knows? Like, again, I don't think that these 4 games are season defining for the New York Knicks either, but it's very close. Now, when we look at the standings, right, the only team other than Detroit, Boston, and New York that's above the Sixers right now, it's the Toronto Raptors. And I'm a little sus about Toronto. I mean, even before the season, I mean, you and I have talked even before we started the show. Like, I was kind of saying, hey, if one team's going to sneak their way in there, it's Toronto.
You were very high on them. Absolutely.
Now they've done better than I thought they were going to do. Like right now they're 22-15. I thought they might be at this point a 7 or an 8 seed. The fact that they're a 4 seed right now, that's incredible. And I don't think they're going to fall off like what we saw from the Bulls this season.
No.
I mean, they have a lot of great talent. When you talk about Scotty Barnes, who, I mean, again, he's an incredible player. Brandon Ingram was just an incredible addition. I mean, RJ Barrett, Emmanuel quickly, and they're doing all this basically without a center, which is just mind blowing to me.
Because theirs is always hurt.
Yeah, Jakob Poeltl. I mean, he's been out the last several games, and I think they've been playing the rookie Colin Murray Boyles as their center.
Yep. I saw that.
If anybody remembers from when he got drafted, like, he clearly was not happy when his name got called, when he got selected. What was he, like 11? I forget what pick he was.
I'll confirm that right now, but it's funny because it reminded me almost of, like, remember the meme of Embiid when he got drafted and he had that straight mug, and it's like, oh man. So it looked like he didn't want to be here.
Yeah, when you saw the word that he mouthed as soon as his name was called, you knew he didn't want to be there. But like, they're playing him as center, and he's got to be what, 6'8", 6'9"? I mean, he's not very tall. And this is not
he was the 9th overall pick.
Oh, 9th. Okay, I was close. Yeah, 9th.
Yeah, you're right. You're right there.
So, and this is not the first time. Like, I remember they were playing Pascal Siakam at center for a season or two. Because they had Marc Gasol, and then after that point, they didn't really have a center, so they just started playing Pascal Siakam, and I just thought that was strange. But this time it's working, and when Jakob Poeltl returns, that's only going to help them. But I don't know, like, I don't think Toronto is going to make it past the first round this season. I'm talking about this season. I'm not talking over the next several years. But like, if you put Toronto and the Sixers in a 7-game series, again, assuming the roster is what it is right now, which it's so hard to predict health with this team, but like, Embiid's looking really good right now. Paul George is looking really good right now. Like, I'm taking the Sixers over Toronto any day. Like, it could be a competitive series. Like, I don't think it's going to be a sweep, but it definitely can go 6 games, maybe 5. But I'm definitely taking the Sixers over Toronto. The Magic, I've been pretty sus over as well, just because they are always injured, like always. And they have like their talent is young too, but Paulo Banchero continues to miss games. I know he's been back recently, but Franz Wagner, he's been out for a while. Or it's Jalen Suggs who's out. I mean, I know Mo Wagner's still been out for a bit. I don't know about Orlando. Desmond Bane, I think he's starting to find his fit a little bit, but it's hard because Jalen Suggs, Bane, Wagner, Banchero, they're not playing together. So you have to be able, just like I've been saying about the Sixers, and I think hopefully they're starting to do that now, is you got to build continuity.
Well, it's funny you bring up the Magic and the Raptors, ironically, because after that game against the Wizards at home, Sixers go right back on the road and they play on Friday. Their first stop is Orlando.
Right.
And then one of the great schedule quirks of 2025-26, they have not only back-to-back against the same opponent, it's back-to-back nights on the road. They play the 11th and the 12th against the Raptors. So I can't give you a 5, 6, or 7 game series, but I can give you a 2-game series in January.
And that's tough because it is a back-to-back. So,
horrible.
There's no guarantee, and I highly doubt that Embiid and Paul George are going to play both games.
No
now,
way.
They might
do you stagger
turns.
them, or do you stagger them 1 and 1, or do you play both on one day and then maybe sit them both on the same?
It's a complicated decision because maybe you want a real test of what your full roster looks like against them. But then
remember, when you peek ahead a little bit on the schedule, you have the 14th and the 16th to get against the same opponent again, where you're playing Cleveland at home. So you're going to have 4 games against 2 opponents back to backs. It's going to be 2 at Toronto, 11th and 12th, and then the 14th and 16th versus Cleveland. So 2 little mini series, which is very odd to see.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a test. Now, obviously, if after those games they lose most of them, I mean, we'll come back and talk about those specifically. I'm still in the boat where I don't think the Sixers, I want to be very clear. I don't think the Sixers are winning a title this year. I don't even think they're going to make it to the finals. Now, could they make it to the conference finals? Sure. I mean, it's one of those, just like most Sixers fans, you have to see it to believe it.
Yeah, everything has to fall right. Exactly.
But, and I told you this before we even started recording, I think this is the best roster that Embiid has had. Now, granted, this is kind of a little bit past Embiid's prime, but Tyrese Maxey at this stage, that's the best partner Joel has ever had.
Oh, absolutely. Better than Ben Simmons ever was, and better than the stages that you got from Butler and Harden. They were a little bit later in their careers.
Right. So that's why if Embiid doesn't have to be as dominant physically, right, and he can still dominate in his game, right, and you still have Tyrese Maxey, VJ, and Paul George playing the way they're doing, I think the Sixers have a chance against most teams. Detroit, the only thing with Detroit, and maybe they have an Indiana type run, even though they're a lot better in the regular season than the Pacers were the last season or two. But it's tough. They haven't won a playoff series yet. They were very competitive against the Knicks last year. I mean, it might be tough. Cleveland, they were the number 1 seed last year. They got knocked out in the second round. So it could be the same case with Detroit. Now, Boston is a question mark because they're saying Jason Tatum's going to return.
That's the wild card. Yep.
Now, obviously, continuity is going to be a question because Jason Tatum hasn't played with this roster. I mean, you still obviously have Jaylen Brown. You still got Derek White, a couple other pieces, Pritchard, Hauser. But it's tough because you don't really have a power forward or a center. Now, Tatum will solve at least the forward issue, but you got to rely a lot on Neemias Queta, who I think is actually having a phenomenal season, especially defensively. You're not going to get big numbers offensively from Queta.
Oh, yeah. And we, trust me, we gave him some slack in the very first episode where I was like, who the heck is that? But he's definitely been pretty well for them.
It's crazy how Boston could just put in anybody and they're just phenomenal. They just
all
find
the
these
time.
Random guys
all the time.
I mean, Anthony Simons had a great game too the other night. It's crazy to see how good Boston is. So especially when you put Tatum in, I'm not going to put the Sixers over Boston. New York, that's the one thing, right? And now obviously you beat the Knicks at home twice with their full roster. Now you could complain and say, oh, well, the first game they didn't have Miles McBride or, Landry Shaman. I mean, those pieces don't really matter. Same thing with, not having Josh Hart, who's, a bench player who can be a starting caliber player. He's definitely a good player. But putting the Sixers in a series with the Knicks, I think that would be the most fun out of any team, that matchup, just because obviously it's New York. But the fact that we beat them twice on the road, now we'll see what we do with the other two games this season. If we beat the Knicks at least one time at home and we're up on them 3-1, I might be convinced that they can definitely beat them in a 7-game series. Like last time we played the Knicks, that went to 6 games.
Mm-hmm.
But the difference is Joel Embiid, first of all, you didn't have Paul George. He wasn't on the team. You didn't have VJ Edgecombe. You had Tobias Harris, who had 0 points in that final game.
He had 0, on the dot.
But Joel Embiid was playing on one leg, right? And he also was going through Bell's palsy. So half his face was just numb. So again, it's always a big if. But if Joel can stay with what he's doing right now, and we enter the postseason with what we have now, plus we have Kelly Oubre, we have Trendon Watford again. Maybe they'll make a move or two at the deadline. Like, I don't think it's going to be a big splash or anything like that, but you might get a decent role player who could fit into the rotation or something like that. I think the Sixers have a chance against almost anybody, assuming health. I know, kind of talking to you earlier, you were a little bit lower with them. You kind of put them lower in the standings, but like you look down at the 7 and 8 spots, like Cleveland, I know they've been injured a lot this season, but even when they're healthy, they just haven't played that good. And obviously Miami, it's just another team. They're always just a play-in team. They just never know how to win games in the regular season. And once again, they have players out. I mean, Tyler Hero has barely played this season. I mean, he finally came back for 4 games, I feel like it was, and then he went out again.
Yeah, and he's back tonight, and then he'll play another 2 or 3 day games, and then he'll be out again.
And, Bam, I know recently he's been out. So, they're only, saving graces are Norman Powell, who I've been very high on this season, and, Andrew Wiggins, who, again, has had a decent season, but I don't know. So, and obviously, I think those are the 8 teams that are going to make the playoffs. I just don't see any other team creeping in. Again, Chicago is, once again, a mediocre mess. Maybe they get a little bit better when Josh Giddey returns. Atlanta stinks right now, even though, again, Jalen Johnson, I hope he becomes an all-star this year. I've been very high on some of their other players, but it's tough in Atlanta right now. And then, again, the other teams, I just don't think they're going to have a shot, even if, I know last episode we talked about if the Bucks make a move, but even if they get a player like Zach LaVine or Jeremy Grant, it's not going to do anything.
No.
And then obviously the other 4 teams, Charlotte, Brooklyn, Washington, Indiana, we're not even going to discuss that. So again, looking at those 8 teams, because I think those are the 8 teams that make the playoffs. Now, what order they're in, that's a whole different story. But I think the Sixers have a chance against almost anybody except probably Detroit and Boston. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think the big 3 in the East are still Detroit, Boston, and New York, but I'm open to a 7-game series between the Knicks and the Sixers for sure. I think that would be entertaining for not only Sixers and Knicks fans, but just for the league in general. Mm-hmm. I think they're equivalent to that Toronto. Now, I mean, just for the record, Cleveland, Miami, and Orlando, they all have 1 more win than the Sixers. They played 2 more games, so they all have 20 wins to the Sixers 19. So I just feel like they're all kind of similar, and they all have their own issues and their own injury issues and their own situations going on. And if any of those teams can get right and get healthy and put a good 12 or 15 game stretch together, I think any of them can get hot and become a 3 or 4 seed. But I do agree that I think Boston, especially with the way they've played lately, and they could move Anthony Simons to get that big man at the deadline that you're referring to, that missing piece. And that's scary because he has a big contract that's movable, and he's a unrestricted free agent. So he's a last year guy. After Detroit and Boston, you can put the Sixers up against anybody, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's going to be very complicated, and it's going to be fun to watch.
The East has been like that all year, I feel like, though.
Yeah, it's kind of the opposite. We kind of thought, especially when we talk about, the Western Conference, it could be anybody in the West, and then the East is just, wide open. But I feel like the East is more competitive. I feel like the West is more top-heavy.
Yeah, the West, after your top 6, I feel like those are the top 6 you can consider. But then it's kind of I don't consider Phoenix and Golden State as Western Conference or title contenders at all. But you can tell me then the other 6. But in the East, you got, like we said, 8 or 9 teams that could somehow just go on a run or make 1 or 2 moves at the deadline and put themselves ahead of the pack.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the West. I mean, Oklahoma City. I think, as I've mentioned before, that they're going to be up there, even though they got their butts kicked by Charlotte at home yesterday, which was ridiculous. But again, I feel like even the best teams are going to have a game like that.
Of course.
It doesn't mean they still can't make it to the finals just because they lost to Charlotte. San Antonio, depending on how far they get, because they haven't been to the playoffs yet. So you look at San Antonio. If they make it past a series or two, like they could beat the Thunder, because obviously they played them and beat them 3 times already, which is insane to me, because OKC, they already have 7 losses. 3 of them are against the Spurs, which is just like mind-blowing to me. The Lakers, I mean, again, we've talked about how the Lakers have been suspicious recently. Denver, assuming everyone gets back healthy. I mean, I know Jokić is out for like the next 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, they're hoping by the end of January. They said maybe early February, hopefully.
So, it will depend. Houston, I mean, they're the 5 seed right now, but I think they're going to be a dominant team. And then Minnesota, they've been to the Western Conference Finals the last 2 years. I mean, Ant-Man is a beast, aka Michael Jordan. So, you don't know where they're going to fall. The East, it could go so many ways, but it's so competitive. But it's going to be so much fun to watch. And you know what else is fun to watch? All of the clips that we put up on social media, we've been putting up clips up from the show. So make sure to check out Second Round Syndrome on Instagram, TikTok. We also are on YouTube. Please make sure to check us out. Also, Pav Harris, check out his socials. Check out DJ Sports Zone. Always put reactions to Sixers and Eagles games. I reacted to that horrible Eagles loss against the Washington Commanders. Definitely can look forward to a reaction video on the Eagles wildcard game this Sunday against the San Francisco 49ers. So definitely look forward to that. I will either be really happy or really ticked off. Speaking of another team that is going to be ticked off is the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks, there was a report from Shams Charania, and I know we even talked about this before that announcement came out before the announcement came out the other day, but we talked about this in our last show. Trae Young and his agent are working on a trade with the Atlanta Hawks. And it's definitely going to be very interesting to see what happens with that situation. But the most interesting part is the potential suitor that I saw pop up from, I believe Mark Stein put this out. The Washington Wizards might have interest in Trae Young. Huff, do you think that makes any sense?
From a Wizards perspective, of course. Yeah. I mean, how else are you going to get that big of a name into your small market? You know what I mean? Like the Wizards are going to have to either hit on the draft or they're not going to make any moves in free agency because nobody wants to go to the Wizards.
Right.
So from there, I see it, but I'm just trying to think about the Wizards roster and I'm trying to think of who they're sending back to Atlanta. This has to be some kind of a salary dump, I would assume.
Here's my issue with it. Right. The Wizards have been awful for years. I mean, the last time they were relevant is, I mean, quote unquote relevant is, what was it, 2020 when they had both Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook.
And Russ, yep. Mm-hmm.
That was the last time they made the playoffs. I mean, they got knocked out in 5 games the first round by the Sixers. And they were even lucky to get to 5. They should have been swept. But with this roster that they have right now, and they don't really have like a core piece to build around. I mean, they have some decent young talent. Like I like Coulibaly. Bob Carrington's all right. Sarr's all right. Mm-hmm. But they don't have like that piece that they're going to build around. Like you look at the Portland Trailblazers, like Denny Avdia can be that guy, right? And obviously Damian Lillard's going to come back as well next season. And they have nice young talent, Shaedon Sharpe, Scoot Henderson. I mean, they got a lot of young guys that could step in. I don't know if it makes sense to put Trae Young with this roster. Like, does that, and I'm talking about next season, right? Even if you make the trade this season, this is about 2026 to 27. Mm-hmm. Does that move the needle at all for the Wizards?
I just think it makes them the new Atlanta Hawks, where they're kind of perennially in the play-in tournament, where they're going to be fighting for, instead of a lottery pick, now they're just fighting for an 8, 9, or 10 seed. And I just think if you're Washington, your hands are tied. You've tried to draft and it hasn't really worked out, where you've had it mesh like OKC has, where all your lottery picks work out together. So you have to do something. Maybe they figure, listen, we'll give Trae a new opportunity and a fresh start. We'll build around him, because that's the only thing I could think of. They're going to have to build around him, and especially for the money they're going to be paying him. I don't know how much Atlanta would retain. I know Atlanta's still trying to swing CJ McCollum, I guess, for cap space for AD at the end of the day for Anthony Davis. But these are two teams that are kind of just perennially stuck, in my opinion.
See, I think it's the right move for Atlanta. And I think if Atlanta can get the right package, they're going to be a better team in the future. And I have a potential package I'll tell you in a second. But I just don't think that it's going to make the Wizards much better. I mean, you said it might make them like the Atlanta Hawks. I might even say it might make them like the Sacramento Kings, like where they just kind of stay at the bottom no matter if they put these
I feel like they're already there. The Wizards are already stuck at the bottom, so I feel like they're just trying to jumpstart it with anything. And a big name like Trae Young, in their mind, is better than whatever free agent they're going to be able to sway to come to Washington in the next 2 or 3, free agent classes.
My argument is I don't believe Trae Young is a winning player. Like,
oh my God, I think Trae Young is a mutt. I'm not a Trae Young fan at all. I'm just thinking of it from a Washington front office standpoint and what they're trying to sell their fans.
And that's why I compared them to the Kings, because like at this stage in their careers, especially when you're talking about DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine, like they're not winning players either. Like they're big names, right? They might sell some jerseys, right? Even I hate saying Sabonis because I think he's the best out of the bunch, but he hasn't even really proven to be a winning player. He just hasn't been put in the right situation, unfortunately. But that roster is just full of guys that are big names, but they don't win games. And Trae Young's the same thing. I mean, the only reason why the Hawks made it to the Eastern Conference Finals is because of Ben Simmons and Doc Rivers.
Yep.
Right. That's it. I mean, they would have been a second round exit. And then after that point, I mean, they made up the playoffs maybe once after that. I mean, they were a first round exit. They haven't made it past the first round since, and they haven't made it into the playoffs in the last couple of years. So bringing Trae Young, like, again, could it sell jerseys? Sure. But I think it's kind of like the equivalent of when Bradley Beal was here with like Porzingis. I mean, it's like, okay, you got two recognizable names. Now, obviously Bradley Beal was a homegrown name. But I just don't know. Now, if you put the pieces around Trae Young, maybe, but I just feel like Trae Young's a player that you can't really build around and have a winning organization with.
Yeah, and I just think that Washington doesn't look at it like the competing teams in the league look at it. They're not thinking, how do we win a championship? Unfortunately, they're thinking, how do we get a superstar back like a John Wall or a Bradley Beal who can get butts in the seats? And unfortunately, they are looking to sell jerseys and stuff because at the end of the day, it is a business. So if you're not going to win, you want to at least be able to put a decent enough product on the court. And I feel like again, I'm just trying to play devil's advocate for Washington. I'm not a Trae Young fan. I'm just thinking that this is better than the alternative. Instead of us just putting a bunch of guys that aren't known to the public, that aren't known to the general masses, we're swinging and missing on all our draft picks. At least if everybody knows Trae Young, he'll be on national TV, like for better or worse, he's known. He's a known commodity. So I agree with what you're saying. I'm just trying to give the Wizards at least this is their explanation as to why they would even think about this.
No, and I appreciate you giving the other side to it. But like, even when you look at the John Wall, Bradley Beal team, like they were still competitive. I mean, they were competing against the LeBron Cleveland Cavaliers. And, I just don't know. And maybe in a couple of years, it's something different. Now, let me get into like the specific trade that I saw, like, and this was from AM Hoops. Great YouTube channel. I watch them a lot. This is what he suggested, and this was a 3-team deal. Okay. Because the question is, what about Anthony Davis? Right? Because Anthony Davis has been tied to the Atlanta Hawks for the last several weeks.
I think they're the favorite to land him for sure.
So I honestly think with this news and with the Wizards actually interested, here's the one benefit. I think it makes it even more likely that Anthony Davis lands in Atlanta. So here, and I don't know if I agree with all of this. I'll read this out and I'll hear your thoughts. So it says, AM Hoop said that Washington, of course, would get Trae Young, and they would also get a 2026 pick swap from Atlanta. That's what Washington gets.
Okay.
Dallas gets 3 players. They get, funny enough, they get Kristaps Porzingis returning. They get Corey Kispert. They get Zachary Richeche, number 1 pick. And this is the one controversial thing, but I'll get your thoughts on this in a moment. The 2026 first round pick that New Orleans gave to Atlanta this past offseason. So
That's the Derek Queen deal that we make fun of a couple of times.
Yep, that's the Derek Queen one. And then Atlanta, they get Anthony Davis, of course. They get CJ McCollum, an expiring contract. They get Max Christie, who, funny enough, came with AD from the Lakers. And then they get a 2031 first round pick from Dallas. So Dallas, they're giving up a couple players, obviously. They're giving up Max Christie, Anthony Davis, and they're giving up a first round pick. But they're getting Corey Kispert, who I think is a decent role player. They're getting Ricochet, who I mean, maybe they're giving up on him too early, right? I mean, I don't know if he's going to be a great number one pick. I think he's going to be, one of the most forgettable, but who knows? Maybe Dallas could turn him around. And then Porzingis, maybe he fits in with that roster. And then obviously with Washington, we talked about that with Trae Young. What are your thoughts on that 3-team deal?
Can you give me the parameters on that pick going to Atlanta again? You said it was AD, McCollum, Christie, and then it was a first from who?
It was Dallas, 2031.
Oh, a 31 Dallas first. Okay, so in the future there. Okay, so because when I look at it in totality, I wrote it down as you were saying it. So the 26 pick swap is the option for Washington. They can take the better of that pick with Atlanta.
Yep.
Okay, so Denver. Oh my God, I'll get it right. I promise. Dallas, they're essentially saying we're giving up our 31st pick for what's Atlanta's pick this year, which may be, I guess, a top 10 pick or so. It's funny that you're getting rid of AD and Christie in the same deal. You're pretty much just saying we really want to erase this Luka deal. So you're going to get rid of AD and Christie, your Luka deal. Ricochet going to Dallas is probably the most surprising thing. I'm surprised they would give up on him, but I guess they have to if they're going to facilitate an Anthony Davis deal.
You got to give up something, and
and Porzingis and Kispert would just be that's for money because Porzingis makes his 35, Kispert makes about 13 or 15, so that would be the AD money.
And imagine that Dallas team, because part of it why I don't think they want Trae Young is I assume they're going to want to keep Kyrie, so it wouldn't make sense Trae Young playing with Kyrie Irving.
And I don't see Porzingis playing another game for Dallas. I feel like that would be a situation where they would kind of just buy him out or try to move him again. So really, I mean, do you see Porzingis in the future plans for Dallas in this deal?
Probably not. I mean,
I don't think that he would really get plugged back in there. So you're really getting Kispert and
it's mainly about Ricochet and the pick because that pick can go number one. I mean, New Orleans is horrible. So, there's a chance you have 3 number one pick, actually technically 4 with Kyrie, but you have 4 number one picks on your roster, Kyrie Irving, Cooper Flagg, Zachary Ricochet, and if they can get that 2026 number one overall pick.
Yeah, the pick is going to be the main thing that the Mavericks front office is going to sell to the fans because, I mean, the return, when I look at it, it's really not that great. I think Ricochet he's a good player. I don't think he's like necessarily a 1-1 overall kind of guy. I mean, that's what he was taken as, but I think it was a weaker class and he wouldn't have gone 1-1 in this year's class, for example, or even next year. So Dallas really, they can't be picky. So if they're going to get a first round pick, the pick that they should have gotten in the first place from the Lakers, like something of that caliber, of that value. So for Atlanta, of course you do. You're getting out of the Trae Young situation and you're getting back a 31 first. And you're getting back AD. McCollum's only going to be a stopgap. Christie's a young player. Like, I don't think anybody says no at this point.
Yeah, and again, CJ McCollum could at least be that ball handler, especially with Trae Young no longer on your roster, to at least take you throughout the season. And maybe they squeeze in the play-in, and I don't know, CJ maybe can help them win a game. I don't know about that, but I think if this is the deal now, the only thing is, does Atlanta want to give up that New Orleans pick? I mean,
that's going to be the kicker. But that might be the price you have to pay to get rid of Trae Young's contract. Because I still think they have to eat some of that deal. Maybe not 50%, maybe not more than that. But still, they're going to have to take some of that back. Unless they really pad it with picks.
It's a risk no matter what, because obviously with the lottery now, it's not guaranteed. I mean, the last 2 teams that have gotten the number 1 overall pick were actually playing teams. I think they were actually both the 10 seed in their respective years, Atlanta and Dallas. So you never know who's going to get it. I mean, New Orleans could continue to be one of the worst teams ever. And whoever has that pick, obviously right now Atlanta does, or in this trade scenario, it would be Dallas. It could still be a lower pick. Who knows?
I think a third team has to be involved for it to be facilitated. You're not going to make a straight swap between Atlanta and Dallas, in my opinion.
No, and I don't know if this trade deadline is going to be like crazy or not. Like this might be the craziest move, but this is a move that, especially now that Trae Young and his agent are working with the Hawks, I don't even know if this waits until February. Like maybe it waits a couple of weeks, just maybe so Dallas could see if there's any other suitors for Anthony Davis. Like, you know, they're going to actually seek out the best deal they can, unlike what they did for Luka, which again, bizarre. They just did the first thing that came to their mind and they didn't open it up to anybody. Like it's so funny how they could turn, you know, Luka into Porzingis, Kispert, and Ricochet. Because again, they didn't know that, like Cooper Flag, you didn't know that was going to happen. This pick could be total garbage. You don't know. So, you know, they're turning this type of scenario into possibly, you know, something at least they could look forward to in the future. Again, having potentially 4 first-round picks on your team. And again, if it's not number 1, it still could go pretty high. I mean, this is a great draft. I mean, the top, you know, 3-4 guys are, you know, could be potential stars one day. And, you know, as we get towards the end of the season, I'm sure we'll kind of go into those players a little bit just to see where they go. But I think this is a decent trade. I mean, if this is where they go now, again, Washington, we'll see. And the question is, do they extend Trae Young? Because I feel like if you get Trae Young, you have to. Atlanta and Trae Young, they couldn't work out an extension. He does have a player option next season. Now, if they work out an extension, that player option goes away.
Of course.
But if the question is, if Atlanta doesn't make the move for Trae Young, like are they going to try to call out his bluff and see if he takes that player option or not? Because they could say, okay, maybe he walks, but I don't think he would. If they keep it, he's going to take that player option, and then he's going to be stuck in Atlanta for another year.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a lose-lose, and the rest of the league knows it. That's why Atlanta kind of has their hands tied, because they're not going to get the maximum return that they would have had this been an amicable situation or if they'd done it sooner. But the fact that they're going public and the agent's getting involved, and now his camp is saying the wheels are moving in this direction, I think it's only a matter of time. Like you said, this isn't going to come down to the ESPN trade deadline special where you're waiting to the last few seconds to get that last report from Shams. Like this is going to happen relatively soon, if not by the next episode, maybe the next 2. But I definitely see it heading in the right direction as well.
Yeah, and we got moves last year that happened. Like the Jimmy Butler trade didn't happen right at the trade deadline. I mean, that was a couple weeks before,
for sure.
So this could be the same scenario. Last trade deadline was insane. Even just beside the whole Luka Doncic trade, we had so many all-stars move around: Brandon Ingram, Zach LaVine, De'Aaron Fox, Chris Middleton. I mean, we had a lot of players move around. This trade, I just don't think it's gonna. I don't think it's gonna be the same thing. I don't think it's gonna be as exciting. Like this might be the biggest trade we get, but this trade exists because Dallas screwed up so bad.
Yeah, they're just trying to make up for the mistake they made last year. Absolutely.
And, clearly Atlanta is admitting like it's just not working. And they tried, like, I mean, they originally drafted Luka and it was a draft trade.
Yeah, go figure.
Which is kind of funny. I mean, I guess you didn't know at the time, maybe Trae Young could have been even better. I mean, he's been an all-star. Again, he made the Eastern Conference Finals. Again, I think that was a fluke, just based on what we've seen after the case.
Yeah, Ben Simmons would have just dunked the ball.
I mean, he was scared of Trae Young and Danilo Gallinari, which, shout out to Danilo, but, come on. Thank you so much for watching, for listening. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Amazon. Please make sure to like, share it around, give us a 5-star review. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. Hopefully by the time we come back, we get even more Sixers wins. I'm GJ Sports Zone. We got Hob Harris here, and we will see you next time.
10-9-8.